You can draw this in Procreate. During this easy Procreate tutorial, I will guide you through the steps of creating this colorful and fun landscape. And while we go through those steps, you'll learn how to make smart use of alpha lock, using different adjustments like glitch and blur, and using layer masks. I think it would be great if you would share your work once you have finished following this tutorial. And if you are sharing your work on Instagram, then tag me in the image, not just in the description, because that way I will be able to find your work and then maybe we will see it in the next video. Just look at these amazing results from previous tutorials, including the ones from Patreon. On my Patreon page you will find more than 150 Procreate tutorials, and they range from beginner level to more advanced levels. So if you want to get your Procreate skills to the next level, or if you just want to have even more Procreate fun, then Patreon is the place to go. For this tutorial we are working on a canvas that is 2300 pixels by 3000 pixels, color profile set to sRGB, and the color palette for this tutorial is linked in the description. We'll also be using some free brushes from my Procreate treasure chest, so in case you don't already have it, please go to freefromflow.com to grab yours. I've actually added a new brush that comes from my enormous silhouette brush pack bundle. But now, if you are ready, let's get started. We'll start off by dropping in a color for our background. Let's go to our color palette and grab the second color in the first row, and then just drag it onto your canvas. Then we'll grab a brush. We'll go to the airbrushing brushes and grab the soft brush. And for our color, we will grab the third color in the first row. The opacity of the brush is at 70%. Let's set the size to 18. And then let's go over the center area of our canvas, just with rounded motions. Lift your pen every once in a while to recharge your brush and make this more opaque. So go for something like this, then switch to the first color in the first row, and we'll add that to the top area. So just make an edge like this. Make multiple strokes until you have something that looks like this. Then we'll go to the magic wand and pick Gaussian blur, and then slide to the right on your screen with your pen or your finger and create a soft gradient like this. Let's go for 43% and then tap the magic wand again. Then we'll create a new layer. We'll go to the two little squares on layer menu and tap the plus. And then for our color, we'll switch to this one over here, second color in the second row, and we'll use that to make our water area. We'll do that by going to the S-shaped ribbon, the selection tool, set it to rectangle, and then turn on color fill. Then let's zoom out a little bit, then start here in the lower left corner and drag up until you fill about 1/3 of your canvas. So, well, it'll be a bit like this. It's about 1/3. Next, we'll make a new layer. We'll go to the layer menu again, tap the plus, and make a layer underneath this one. So we'll tap and hold this and drag it underneath our pink layer. Then for our color, we will grab this one over here, fourth color in the first row. And for our brush, we will switch to a brush under calligraphy, and that's the monoline brush. For this brush, make sure that it's set to 100% opacity. We don't want any transparency, but the size doesn't really matter. I have it set to 30%. We will make a big circle. Hold your pen in place to make it snap to the quick shape, and then hold one finger on the screen to make it snap to a perfectly round circle. Then you can drag in the color to fill your shape. And then we'll go to the move and transform tool. That's the little arrow up here. And here in the little menu, we'll tap snapping and turn on snapping here. Then you can move your circle around, and when you see that vertical orange line, you will know that your sun is in the center. And we'll place it about here. Then we'll go ahead and make another layer. We'll go to the layer menu and make a layer on top of the others. So first tap this pink layer and then tap the plus. Then for our color, we will grab this one over here. That's the seventh color in the first row. And for our brush, I would like to use the script brush. It has crisp edges just like the monoline brush, but with this brush, the harder you press with your Apple Pencil, the thicker your line will become. And the opacity of this brush is set to 100% as well, and I have the size set to 10%. And I'll start about here, a bit below our horizon. We'll make a wobbly line up, something like this. And then we need to attach it here. We need to go to the right. So we have created a little bumpy island. Then let's drag in the color. And let's do the same thing for the other side. We'll leave a little space here. And we'll go up, make a wobbly line, little hilly shape, and then the flat area here. So you get something like this. Then drag in the color to fill that shape. Now, do you feel like maybe we can make this one a little bit higher? So something like this. You can just change it a bit and drag in the color. And sometimes you get some gaps that you might need to fill. I do see that there's little space for our flamingo here. So what you can do is tap and hold the eraser, and that will make it switch to the script brush. And then you can use that to sculpt these areas a little bit and get a little bit more space for our flamingo later on. This should be fine. Now let's place our flamingo. Let's tap the plus for a new layer. And then for our brush, we will go to the treasure chest brush pack. You can get it for free by going to freefromflow.com if you haven't already. And we are going to use a new brush that I have added to the collection. It's the Flamingo brush. And this brush and all the other silhouette brushes are part of my enormous silhouette brush pack bundle. So if you enjoy working with silhouettes, then do check that out because there are hundreds of brushes in there. So we are going to use the Flamingo, and for the color, we are going to use this one over here. That's the first color in the second row. The opacity of the brush should be at 100%. We don't want a ghost flamingo. And let's set the size to 15%. And then let's tap here for a nice looking flamingo. Then we can go to the move and transform tool, the little arrow. I'd like to flip it, so we can use flip horizontal. And then let's move it around. We can actually turn off snapping here. And make sure you have it set to uniform so you can easily make it bigger or smaller without ruining the ratio. And let's place it about here. Maybe we can even make it a little bit bigger. Something like this. Now let's continue working on our little islands over here on layer 4. I'd like to add a little bit of grass. Let's do that by going to some Procreate standard brushes under organic. We will use the swordgrass brush. And for the color, let's pick this color again, 7th color in the first row. The opacity of the brush is at 100%. Let's set the size to 7%. And let's add a little bit of grass here, and a little bit over here, and a little bit here, and some grass here. Now you can see that it has some color variety, and I don't want that in this case. So what you can do is go to the layer and tap it and turn on alpha lock. Now when you tap it again, you can use fill layer, and now everything has the same color. Now if you want to get rid of some of those slightly transparent parts, you can duplicate the layer by sliding to the left and tapping duplicate and then pinching them together. You can do that multiple times to get a more opaque look. Now I also want some grass in the foreground. Let's make a layer on top of the others. So go to this layer first and tap the plus. Then for the color, we'll grab this one. That's the 8th color in the first row. And we'll still use that swordgrass brush, but we'll make it a little bit bigger. Perhaps 18%. Let's check that out. I think that's fine. Let's go over this lower area, a little bit higher on the left, then downward, and then back up. So you get something like this. Then I want it to be one color. So again, we'll go to the layer, tap it, turn on alpha lock, and then use fill layer. And then we can duplicate it again to make it more opaque. You can just do that multiple times until you're happy. I do feel like this area is a little bit high up. We can change that by going to the Move and Transform tool, a little arrow, then set it to Warp. Let's move this up and then just drag here to move that downward a little bit and get a little bit more space. Then tap the arrow again to get out of there. Next, let's work on our water. First, I want to go to this pink layer, layer 2. Let's turn on alpha lock here so we won't be able to paint outside of that shape. Then for our brush, we will go back to the airbrushing brushes and use the soft brush. And for the color, we will switch to this third color in the second row. Let's make the brush a little bit smaller. Let's go for 10%. And then let's go over this area near the flamingo. Light that up a little bit. So something like this. Then we can blur it a little bit. Let's go to the magic wand and this time let's use motion blur. And then again, slide to the right to add a little blur. I'm going for 70%. Then we'll go back to the layer menu and we are going to duplicate these hill layers. We'll slide to the left, tap duplicate. Then we'll go to the bottom one, then go to the Move and Transform tool and use Flip Vertical. Then set this to uniform and drag this downward and make the undersides touch. I can see in my case it's a bit difficult for this one on the right. Now to make that one touch, we need to only move this one on the right. And to do that, we can use the selection tool, the S shape ribbon, turn off color fill, then go to freehand or rectangle. Just make sure you make a selection of the right side, close it, then go to the Move and Transform tool, and then we can make it align like this. And then tap the arrow again. Next, I want to add some extra color on this layer. And that's the fourth color in the second row. And the brush I want to use is the soft brush. We already have it. Now let's just go over that underside and add a bit of that bright blue. Just on the underside like this. Then go back to the layer menu and turn off alpha lock. You can see alpha lock is turned on because it has this little checkerboard pattern here. So let's tap the layer, turn off alpha lock, and then let's go to the magic wand and use glitch. We are going to set it to wave and it will slide to the right on our screen. Then we'll turn down the zoom, turn up the frequency. Well, let's turn it all the way up. And then we can play with the amplitude. Let's set it to about 15%. And you can play with the strength by sliding your pen on the screen. I'll go for 62%. Then for the next step, we can tap the magic wand again and again and go to motion blur. Again, let's slide to the right and blur this effect a bit. Let's go for 40%. Then for some more effect on the water, I'd like to make a new layer on top of this. Let's tap the plus and let's set this layer to multiply. We'll tap the N. Here you can change the layer blending mode of the layer. We'll scroll up to multiply because that is great for adding some shadow effect. Then for the brush, we will go to the elements brushes and use the oceans brush. And for the color, we will grab this one over here, 7th color in the first row. The opacity of this brush is at 87%. And let's set the size to, let's go for 50%. And now let's go over the water like this, making horizontal strokes until you get something like this. Then let's blur it a little bit by going to the magic wand and using motion blur. Again, slide to the right to blur it a bit. And then go to the layer, tap the M, and then you can control it and make it a bit more subtle. Let's go for 70%. Then for some light touches, we'll tap the plus again for another layer, but this time we'll tap the N and set the layer blending mode to add. And add is great for adding light. And to add light, we are going to use a different color. We'll use this fourth color in the second row. And again, we'll go over the area and this time add some lighter waves, especially in the center area. Now let's blur this again. Let's go to the magic wand, use motion blur, and slide to the right to get this nice blurry effect. Again, we can go to the layer, tap the A, and make this a bit more subtle. And let's set it to 65%. Of course, we also need a reflection for our flamingo. Let's first fix our flamingo a bit. It's like standing on the water right now, so we need to get rid of a part at the bottom. Let's grab our eraser. Let's go in there and get rid of that bottom part. Something like this, so that it's in the water. Then we need to duplicate this, so let's go to the layer, slide to the left, and tap duplicate. Then we'll go to the bottom one, and then let's zoom out just a little bit. Then we'll go to the move and transform tool, the little arrow. We'll use flip vertical, and then we'll move it downward. If you want to make sure that it aligns with your real flamingo, you can go to snapping and use magnetics. And then slide down like this. And then let's use distort here. You can use this middle handle. You can use these handles. Let's actually turn off magnetics now. So we can use these handles to pull it in perspective a little bit. Use this handle, move it up. So these handles are moved towards the outside just a little bit. And this one is pulled up. So you get a shape like this. And then you can tap the arrow to get out of here. Now to make it look as if this reflection is affected by the ripples on the water, we are going to use the smudge tool. That's the little finger up here. Let's tap it again and grab a brush. We'll go to the calligraphy brushes and use the brush pen. I want to adjust the strength a little bit. That's the opacity. We'll set that to 40%. And we'll set the size to 30%. Then let's go in here. And we want the ripples to be nicely horizontal. We don't want our ripples to look like this, crisscross across our reflection here. Let's undo this. And to make sure that you stay like horizontal, you can go to the wrench, then to canvas, then turn on drawing guide, then tap edit drawing guide, and here at the bottom, turn on assisted drawing. Then tap done. And now all your brush strokes will follow the grid. But you don't need to see the grid. You can actually go to the wrench and turn that drawing guide off. And then when you go to your layer menu, you will still see that this is assisted. And then you can still just use this to make these horizontal strokes. We are going to use that to create this ripple effect. We'll go across our flamingo and pull some of this color away. So you can go through the face and you can pull some parts outward. Until you have a rippled effect. And you might need to zoom out to check it out if it's looking good. But I think this looks nicely rippled. For our next step, let's add a little glow to our sun. Let's go to our sun layer, layer 3. Then let's go to the magic wand and then go to bloom. Now just slide to the right with your pen on your screen to create a nice glow for your sun. Let's set it to 46%. And then let's tap the magic wand again to get out of here. Next, let's create some palm trees. Let's make a layer underneath these hill shapes. So let's tap layer 9 here, then tap the plus. Then for our brush, we will go back to the treasure chest brush pack. Let's scroll up and let's grab the palm tree 2. If you want more variety of palm trees, then go check out that major silhouette bundle because there are loads of trees in there as well. Now for the color, we will grab this one over here, 6th color in the first row. Now the opacity is at 100% and the size is at 58. And then let's just tap on the screen to create our palm tree. And then we'll go to the arrow, the move and transform tool, set it to uniform, and we can make it a little bit smaller, move it around. You can use this green handle to rotate it a bit. And then let's place it about here. Then we will duplicate this palm tree by going to the layer menu, sliding to the left, tapping duplicate, then go to the move and transform tool again and move this to the right. Let's also use flip horizontal, rotate it a bit, make it a bit smaller. And we can also use warp here to slightly change the look of this one, so it doesn't look like an exact copy. But of course, you can also refer back to the other You Can Draw This tutorial we did a while back, in which I showed you how you can draw your own palm trees. Now you can also go to the magic wand and use liquefy, have it set to push with distortion and momentum set to none. And then you can also use liquefy to push and pull parts of the tree to make it look unique. Then let's duplicate this tree. Let's slide to the left, tap duplicate. Then I want to change the color of this tree. Let's grab this color over here, 5th color in the first row, then go back to the layer, tap it, turn on alpha lock, then tap it again and use fill layer. Then we can go to the move and transform tool, the little arrow, set this to uniform, make it smaller, and let's drag it to this side. Now let's also duplicate the other palm tree. That's this one. Slide to the left, tap duplicate, tap the layer, turn on alpha lock, tap the layer again, and use fill layer. Then go to the move and transform tool, make it smaller, and place this one over here. Now once you're happy with your palm trees, you can actually pinch these layers together. And you can also pinch it with the hill layer, no problem. Next, I'd like to add some clouds to this scene and show you another nice trick. Let's go to layer 3, our sun. Then let's tap the plus. And here we will draw our clouds. Let's do that with this color, 5th color in the 2nd row. And for our brush, we will go back to the calligraphy brushes. And I would like to use the script brush. And now we're going to make very simple cloud shapes with various sizes of bumps from the left to the right, like this. Then let's make a line underneath, also all the way from the left to the right. So do make sure that your lines touch the sides of the canvas and then drag in the color. Then we'll go to the layer menu and we are going to add a layer mask to this layer. We'll tap the layer, tap mask, and now we have a white mask attached to our layer, and on this layer we can paint with black. We'll do that with the soft brush under airbrushing. Our color is set to black, and when you paint with black on this layer, it'll mask parts of the layer. Now I do want to make the brush a little bit bigger, so let's set it to 25%. Now let's go over here and make that underside fade. You don't want to see that line anymore. So making gentle rounded motions, gently fading these clouds until you just see like a faded top part. And then you can repeat this process on another layer. Let's tap the plus. Again, for our brush, we will go to the script brush under calligraphy and make some more clouds. Start a bit lower. Try to make them look slightly different. Try to not exactly copy the top part. Go for something like this. Make a line underneath. Drag in the color. Then go to the layer, tap it, add a mask. Then grab the soft brush under airbrushing. And then fade the bottom part. So that you get these nice subtle clouds. Just make sure that you don't see that underside anymore. Now let's just make one more. Let's make a new layer by tapping the plus. Go back to the script brush under calligraphy. And now let's make cloud over here in front of our sun a little bit like this. Drag in the color. Then one on this side. Go back, drag in the color. And then again, let's add a layer mask to this layer. Then grab the soft brush under airbrushing and remove the lower part. Now you might feel like, hey, this is the same as erasing. Why would I use a layer mask to do this? Well, the great thing about a layer mask is that it's non-destructive. So if you would like to get one part of your cloud back, if you feel like you have removed too much, then you can simply switch to white like this, and then you can paint it back. But I don't want that. I'll grab black again and remove it. But with this, even if you have gone ahead with your painting, you can always go back to your layer mask and adjust things. And this is certainly not possible if you have erased anything. Let's just fade this area a little bit more in front of our sun. And that's it. I hope you have enjoyed creating this simple little landscape and learning about layer mask, layer blending modes, alpha lock, and more. I hope you have enjoyed creating this simple and fun landscape. Don't forget to check out my other silhouette brushes, and if you want to turn this into a streak, then I think you might like this tutorial next. I would like to thank you for watching, and I will see you next time for the next video.